At exactly the same moment, two people wake up in the same country, using the same currency, under the same laws. One will quietly get richer this year. The other will quietly fall behind. No lottery, no genius investment, no secret hustle. Just timing. There's a mechanism in the global economy that decides who benefits first when money is created, expanded, or redirected. It doesn't show up on your bank app, it's not taught in school, and it doesn't care how hard you work. Most people never even notice it, but it shapes markets, inequality, bubbles, and crashes, and right now, it's more powerful than ever. Here's the uncomfortable part. This mechanism doesn't reward intelligence or effort. It rewards proximity. Proximity to money, proximity to power, proximity to the source. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start with a simple moment most people remember. A crisis hits, markets panic, headlines scream. Then governments and central banks step in. Stimulus, liquidity, support. Trillions appear almost overnight. The story we're told is simple. This money helps everyone. It stabilizes the system. It saves jobs. It keeps the economy alive. And some of that is true. But what almost never gets explained is how that money actually enters the economy and who touches it first. Because money doesn't fall from the sky evenly. It enters through doors, specific doors, and whoever's standing closest to those doors gets the first move. Imagine a stadium filling with water, slowly, quietly. The people on the upper rows won't notice at first, but the people on the floor, they feel it immediately. In finance, the floor seats are not average workers. They're banks, governments, large institutions, asset holders, corporations with access to credit. When new money is created, whether through lending, bond buying, or emergency programs, it goes to these players first. They don't wait for prices to rise. They don't wait for inflation to show up. They spend, invest, and reposition before the effects ripple outward. This is the quiet mechanism. Early access changes everything. Let's walk through it slowly. When new money enters the system, prices don't rise all at once. Inflation isn't a switch, it's a wave. Asset prices usually react first. Stocks, real estate, bonds, private equity. Why? Because the people receiving the new money already operate in those markets. They deploy capital immediately. So while the public hears inflation is low, asset prices are already climbing. By the time inflation shows up in groceries, rent, or fuel, the early receivers have already locked in gains. They didn't predict inflation, they outran it. Now, contrast that with someone who earns a salary. Their income adjusts slowly, if at all. Raises lag, negotiations take time, sometimes they never happen. So by the time prices rise, their purchasing power has already fallen. Same economy, same money, different timing. This isn't a conspiracy, it's math, and it's been happening for centuries. What's changed is the scale. In the past, money creation was limited by physical constraints, gold, silver, logistics. Today, it's mostly digital entries on balance sheets. That means speed, and speed magnifies advantage. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Most people think wealth grows because of skill, discipline, or smart choices, and those things matter, but timing often matters more. Being early to money flows beats being smart after the fact. This is why certain institutions seem to win regardless of conditions. Boom, they benefit. Bust, they get rescued. Reset, they get first access again. It's also why markets sometimes feel disconnected from reality. Unemployment rising, businesses struggling, yet stock markets hitting record highs. That's not insanity, that's sequencing. Money enters the system at the top, inflates assets, and only later, sometimes much later, filters down. And sometimes it never really does. Now layer psychology on top of this. When asset prices rise, confidence rises. When confidence rises, risk-taking increases. Leverage grows. Speculation feels safe.
By the time everyday investors notice, the early gains are already priced in. They enter late, with higher risk, at higher prices. Then when conditions tighten, higher rates, reduced liquidity, the exits narrow. Who gets out first? The same people who got in first. This is why financial cycles feel rigged even when rules aren't being broken, because the rules aren't about fairness, they're about access, and access is uneven by design. Let's talk about debt, because this mechanism lives inside it. Debt isn't just borrowing, it's money creation with conditions. When large entities borrow cheaply, they can invest in assets that rise faster than the cost of debt. If inflation runs at 5% and your borrowing cost is 2%, you're effectively being paid to borrow. But who gets those rates? Not individuals, not small businesses, institutions. So debt becomes a lever that quietly transfers purchasing power upward, not through malice, through structure. Now zoom out globally. Countries with reserve currencies can run deficits longer. They export inflation. They borrow in their own currency. Others can't. So even at the international level, timing and proximity determine who absorbs the shock first and who absorbs it last. This is why global crises often widen inequality, not reduce it. The mechanism accelerates during stress. Emergency actions compress years of monetary effects into months. Those closest to the source adjust instantly. Everyone else reacts later. By the time the narrative reaches the public, the outcome is already baked in. And here's the irony. We celebrate innovation, efficiency, and speed in markets, but speed in money quietly concentrates advantage. Faster money creation, faster deployment, faster exits. The game isn't about predicting the future, it's about being closer to the tap. So where does that leave everyone else? This isn't a call for panic or cynicism, it's a call for clarity. Once you understand this mechanism, you stop asking the wrong questions. You stop asking, why are prices rising, and start asking, where did the money go first? You stop blaming individuals and start examining systems. Because this mechanism isn't hidden, it's just boring, technical, wrapped in policy language. And boring things shape the world far more than dramatic ones. The biggest financial shifts don't announce themselves. They flow quietly, then show up later as surprising outcomes. And here's the question that should linger. As money becomes faster, more digital, and more centralized, and as crises become more frequent, does this mechanism weaken? Or does it decide even earlier who gets rich next? Because the future of wealth may not be about working harder, investing smarter, or learning faster. It may simply be about who stands closest to the door when the money enters the room.